Welcome to the Coeus Collective, where we make entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation accessible. My name is Antonio DiMeglio, co-founder and CEO. Today we have a very special podcast recording featuring
Andrea Legnani.
Andrea, it is such a pleasure to see you here. It has been wonderful to get to know you over the past few months. We had an initial recording, and there was something special about that recording. I learned about the word community and what it means, and that it's not just about bringing people into a room, but it's even about what happens when people leave that room, right? And your work is fascinating to me because I think it revolves around a very, very interesting question. So we'll just start with this. Do you think that a company's most valuable asset actually maybe does not even work for them anymore?
It can be. It can be. Well, if you think about it, the job market has changed quite a bit over the past 10, 15, 20 years. We went from people joining companies and staying for a long period of time and basically spending all of their careers at that company. And then one day they leave for whatever reason. They either retire or they go to work somewhere else. And they literally fall off planet Earth, right? The company forgets about them. They would never think of hiring them back, or they would never think of going back to work for the same company. Over the past 20 years, we've seen a change in this trend. People tend to leave their jobs more often than they used in the past, and they tend to come back. So yeah, in the past, when people left, they were gone forever, and so alumni were considered as people from the past. Latest trends tell us that actually people tend to go back to work for the same employer, to the point that some large financial institutions, among which the one that I actually work for, Citibank, 11% of current employee base is made of people that used to work for the company and went back to work for it, what we call boomerangs.
11%?
11%. In a company that's made out of 200,000 people, it's a lot of people.
That's over 20,000 people.
That's over 20,000 people. So while alumni were considered the past, now you can also consider them the future, because at some point they will come back to work for you.
And so to what extent do you think this is because of the shifts in society around people trying to get up the corporate ladder faster? Mm-hmm. Because people may see that just like trying to do one thing is not enough these days. And I think people always try to be a jack of all trades, right? But then there's a flip side to that, right? Yep. It's jack of all trades, master of none. When these people are returning back to the companies, are they returning in an elevated position? Do they have more responsibility? What is that like?
Normally they do. We also have an opportunity to see not only what they did when they were at the company, but if you do it right and you use the right tools to manage your alumni community, you know what they did afterwards, so there's an opportunity to bring them back with other improved capacities, right? With skill sets that they acquired somewhere else, at someone else's expenses, actually. So yes, often they're in improved positions if compared to what they were before, but often also in different jobs, literally.
And so when you're thinking about this person, right? To what extent do they also maybe have to maintain an emotional attachment to the brand, right? I'm thinking about general trends in like content marketing these days, right? People say that, for our brand, Coeus Collective, right? We love to have innovators, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists interact with our brand. We want them to feel something when they see our brand. And we want them to know as well that when we connect with someone like you, they're legit. They are putting themselves out there in the world and they're actually solving a problem that needs to be solved. So to what extent do these alumni networks actually allow their brand's fortitude, the strength of the brand, to continue to permeate even well beyond the walls of the office?
Well, if you think about it, people that work for the company are people that live the culture of the company, know intimately well the business, the products, the culture. They literally live the culture, right? So they're fundamental in perpetuating the company's culture in the future. And often I'm asked, but we're a small company, we just started, and why should I launch an alumni community? Well, if you think about it, people that live the company from day one, they're the one who literally were part of the formation of the corporate culture that we'll live on, right? And in the future also, if you think about it, people that join the company in the early stages are people that at some point in the future will become investors, clients, your CFO maybe, right?
Right.
So totally fundamental to keep good relationship with the people that are leaving today, because again, not only it's the right thing to do, but also they will become an opportunity and an important stakeholder for the future.
So a light bulb has just gone off in my head, because there's one company that everybody speaks about, the alumni of, and how they've changed the world completely since they've left it.
Yeah.
And that company was not a large company, but it was a startup. It was PayPal. So people speak about PayPal.
Yep.
You think about Elon Musk.
Yep.
We all know what he's done. You think about Reid Hoffman. You think about these people who have just changed the world so much since then.
Absolutely.
But they all started in building out a very simple payment processing platform for the internet, right?
Correct.
And so when I was coming into this interview, I was expecting to think a lot about your background at Citi, which I'd love to ask you about next.
Of course.
And what it was like to work at these larger firms. But now what I'm thinking of is, wait, actually for me, I'm a startup founder, I'm CEO of a startup. I need to make sure that the 3 interns that just started working for me today, I keep in touch with them forever.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to be the founders of the future. They're going to be the investors of the future.
They're going to be clients of the future.
They're going to be the clients of the future. And there's a chance, I think, that this concept of building out an alumni network is maybe actually more important for a startup, especially a very early stage startup, and frankly as well, especially a startup that's founded when people are at a very early stage in their career.
Absolutely.
Because it will just compound from there. And there's something about startups too that's important. Trauma bonding, right? A little bit of trauma, right?
Absolutely.
And so we want to make sure that those connections are kept forever, because otherwise they go away. Wow, okay. Enough about startups though. Let's get back to the large businesses. We'd love to hear more about your background and what you worked on at Citi, because that is just, it feels like that's what set the stage for you starting this
Absolutely.
business.
Well, I spent a good chunk of my career, almost 21 years of my career, that started in agencies in communication. I'm a professional communicator. To these days, I still teach strategic communication at Columbia University in the Master in Strategic Communication. So I started as a communicator, as the head of communication for a country where I'm originally from Italy. I then became the chief communication officer. The technical term is public affairs officer for a cluster of 7 European countries, moving to Frankfurt. And then in 2011, Citi decided to start a big celebration for 2012, which was the 200th anniversary of the company.
Oh, wow.
And in the celebration of the 200th anniversary, they decided to also launch an alumni network. Nobody knew what an alumni network was at that point. I was fortunate enough when I was back in Italy to have a group of former Citi managers that decided to set up an alumni network. And at the beginning, Citi was kind of skeptic. They didn't understand the potential of it. I worked with them to not only do things that were in line with what the company was expecting to do in the country. I also gave them a little bit of internal visibility. I was a senior person in the communication department, so whenever there was an international meeting, I always talked about how good it was to have alumni and how much goodwill they were bringing back to the company. So when finally Citi decided to launch the official alumni network, they're like, who's this guy back in Italy who keeps talking about the alumni? And that's how I got here. So I got here, and there was nothing, zilch. There was no platform. There was nothing. There was no culture of alumni. Many HR people looked at me like, what are you doing? Why are you doing nice things for people that actually left? See what I mean? And And yeah, I started to build from there. That was the culture at the time. Little by little, we started. Well, you know what happened in 2008 with the financial crisis. So it was literally a question to rebuild the trust of confidence with people that had given their contribution to the formation of the company the way it is today. So it was a very relationship-based community, right? And then, little by little, it turned out that as we were building the relationship and the community, the community started to bring referrals, started to bring back business. And then we started realizing that people wanted to come back to work for us. And at that point, we went from, we're not hiring people back, to 2022, which is the last year that I have data for, where Citi hired globally for a little over 45,000 people, just to give you a size, like a dimension, and 4,000 of which were boomerangs, were people that had left and came back. 4,000. And then we started asking ourselves, but what's in it for the company, right? And if you probably know that hiring people has a cost. It costs a lot of money. I've seen statistics, hiring someone could cost 3 times their first year's salary.
Wow.
Right? And so if you hire someone that's going to make $80,000 a year, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you pretty penny. And then, so let's see, we started analyzing what's the cost of rehiring someone who had already been with the company versus someone who comes from the open market, doesn't know anything, has a learning curve that's going to be much longer and more painful, I would say, than someone who already knows how the internal systems works, has an internal network, and so on and so forth. We realized that when we were hiring alumni, so boomerangs, we saved between $50,000 and $75,000 each.
Wow.
Each, right? About half of which is pure headhunting fee. If you hire someone that's already in your network, you don't have to pay a headhunter to present you with his list of candidates, and then you don't have to pay them the fee once you hire them. Sorry, I hope there are no headhunters here that are listening to this podcast. But yes, you cut off headhunting, and the rest is productivity. People that come back, I like to say that they already know where the bathroom is, if you know what I mean. Right? They already know the systems, and so they become effective day one. And on top of everything, they bring back skill sets that they acquire somewhere else, again, as I said, at someone else's expenses, right? So you take their time outside of the company as a sort of training, advanced training in competition.
Yes.
Right? So at that point, you save money, you got people that are more committed, stay longer, perform better, and you save $50,000 a pop. So if you're good at math, now I'm going to ask you, Antonio, 4,000 people at $50,000, it's $200 million.
$200 million.
Right?
That is significant. Very significant.
So that's the hard benefit, right? Yes. And then you got all the soft benefits with people that are happier, stay longer, perform better. Of course, if they come back, it means that they already had a good experience before. So when they come back, they're even happier.
Yeah.
They stay longer than the 2.5 years, which is the average now of younger generations stay on their job. So there you go. Here's the opportunity.
What I'm seeing here is a very distinct difference in attitude that must have changed over the generations. And sometimes you think to yourself about just why there could be such an attitude change. I think from hearing what you're saying, I'm realizing that there is a monetary benefit, but there might be something different that's generational or cultural going on. We have shifted, it feels like, from a model of tribalism to a model of community.
Yes.
Right? So that one question that you posed before, right? Why would you hire them if they already left us, right? I think what you're doing with Aluminati and the kind of equation that you've done in your own head actually changes the prospect of who is us. Is us just the people that work for us right now? Or does the word us include all of our stakeholders, right?
Absolutely.
And I would go far enough to say that this whole process could actually extend well beyond even the concept of alumni. And it could extend even to the concept of, hey, if we think about our brand as someone that is omnipresent, right? That is constantly physically present everywhere, especially for a brand as large as Citi, right? People's lives depend on their bank accounts. They need to be feeling like they're working with a partner who is safe, secure, and is going to protect their assets, right? This could have a ripple effect even well beyond alumni, right? But it's just crazy that it seems like I could just see it, like pre-2008 maybe, I'm not sure what it was, that there was more of an attitude of tribalism in the corporate world generally, I think especially in the finance profession.
Yeah.
Could you maybe think about why so much has changed?
Well, let me also underline something else. Before DEI took the preeminence, there was another word that was on everybody's mouth, which was corporate social responsibility, CSR. Right? So companies suddenly felt the need to be socially responsible. And if you think about it, caring about alumni gives a message to people, both alumni and your current employees, that you're a socially responsible company because you care about people because they're people, not because they're employees. Super easy to say, and we all heard that those who work for large companies are like, join the family, we're going to hug you and we're going to embrace you and we're going to go together towards sunshine, towards sunset, whatever, right? And then the day they leave, oh, you left us, you're a traitor, why, and so on. So where's the social responsibility if you treat people on the way out that way?
Yeah.
Right? So caring about alumni, forming a community, allowing everybody to be part of, right? And today we're talking about corporate communities. We're not talking about alumni anymore, right? Alumni is where we started from, but then we are expanding the opportunity to join the community to employees and to providers, to partners, to members, to alumni. So the community becomes, I would say the companies are discovering now the opportunities of communities, while the regular public, us, understood the importance of social media, being part of a community
right.
a few years ago, right? Companies have always been very kind of wary about being a community. Now it's becoming a thing, and not only it's giving a sense of socially responsible company, but also an opportunity, a business opportunity.
Certainly, and this business opportunity, I think, involves taking something that was at once a cost center and then turning it into something that could make not just revenue, but also improve brand perception.
Goodwill,
right?
and bring goodwill.
And bring goodwill. And so I guess in this concept, to what extent do you think that alumni relations was a cost center previously? And to what extent do you think it's shed that label currently?
Well, before, alumni were considered someone that you have to communicate with, right? To just tell them what you were doing. Today, it's being more inclusive and being more open, bringing them in, having them enjoy benefits, but also asking something in return, which is referrals, business, and ultimately also bring them back to work. And if you do that in the correct way and you use the right tools to manage the community, you can literally ultimately become a better employer. If you keep good relationship with people that leave you, you can understand things that you wouldn't normally understand. When people leave, they tend not to tell you why they're leaving or where they're going, right? If you do it in the right way and you keep the door open, you can go back and ask them at a certain point in the future, why did you leave? And learn from their answers and maybe build anti-attrition strategies before they even happen. Or have data on where your best people go. Think about the number, the amount of resources that the companies spend in managing talents. Talent pipeline, and you do training and you send them abroad and so on and so forth. And one day they just leave, they just walk out the door, and you forget about them, right? Think about the opportunity of keeping good relationship with them, try to understand why they left, where the attrition point is, so that you can actually put in place anti-attrition strategies before they even happen. And ultimately, if you do it well, you become a better employer.
100%. And to what extent do you think that there's a benefit to having a community platform versus something that's just like a CRM, right? Because somebody could say right now, oh, data is oil, right? I want to have as much data as possible. I'll just track the people on LinkedIn. I'll have our HR department maybe put in where they went to afterwards, and we'll just keep it. Maybe one day we'll throw it into an AI. It'll give us some answers. To what extent is that not enough in your eyes?
Well, a good CRM is made to track people, right? A good community platform is made to engage. And that's the whole difference. If you manage to do the two things together, of course, that's where the money is, right? Because on one side, you keep track of what your people do, and you have data to support all of your initiatives. And on the other side, you put them in a community, and you learn and you give each other.
Right.
There's a give and take.
All right. So I think we're going to move on to a segment that we have called This or That. So we're going to answer some questions about the whole world that Illuminati has created. We'll call it the Illuminati cinematic universe and the world of alumni systems as a whole. So this or that, first thing, boomerang hires or warm referrals?
That's a good question. Well, because of the job I do, I'd say boomerang. But honestly, you need a little bit of both.
Boomerang honestly just feels like something that I've learned so much of while speaking to you today. I'm not surprised by that answer. All right, next one is community platform or email list?
Ooh. I would say community platform supported by a solid email list.
Yes. So
data, at the end of the day, you need data. Can I just say something about this? To engage with your population, with your community, you need to know your audience. This is something we teach a lot during strategic communication classes, right? Know your audience. If you know your audience, you know what they want, you know what they need and when they need it, and you're able to provide them with services and opportunities that they want. And that's where engagement comes from. That's why I'm saying community that has to be supported by solid data. Because if you don't know who they are and what they do, at what stage of their careers they are, you're not going to be able to engage with them because you're not going to be able to know what they want. At the end of the day, engagement comes from give members of the community what they need when they need it.
What they need when they need it. The when is important. I feel like people sometimes don't think about that.
Correct.
Yep. All right, next one. Automation or personal touch?
Ooh. Personal touch supported by automation. And honestly, it's not difficult to do today with technology. Technology can help you to give a personal touch to very large communications. It amazes me that some companies still use email lists and send out hundreds, if not thousands of emails of communication to an indistinguished group of people, telling all of them exactly the same thing. And this is the case, I've seen many universities doing this, right? They have their alumni, and in some cases they literally have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of alumni. And what they do is they send indiscriminate emails to everybody asking them the same things. They don't know who these people are, at what stage of their career. If you think about it, many of the graduates in this country will have years of student debt to pay before they can become effective donors, right? So you can ask potential donors or effective donors the same questions at the same time. You have to ask them different questions, engage with them at different stages in their career or their lives, for the matter. And you need to know who they are. You need to know at what point they will probably start to have children themselves that might go to school. So, and tailor communication and the things you ask from them based on all of this cloud of data that is necessary to have. That's why you need to build a community, but at the same time, you need to have the data to support it.
It's just fascinating to think about how alumni have just become in schools. There's just so much outreach to alumni.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about this in the context of the platform that you're building. Just providing a cleaner set of data
Absolutely.
is such an unlock for the companies. It could even be an unlock for a school too.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely. Well, listen, large universities are just exactly the same as medium corporates, companies, right? They have HR. They need to hire people. Their people, their staff, leave and go to work somewhere else for all the same reasons the companies have, right? So if you use the platform to manage students, alumni, and staff alumni at the same time, that's where the money is.
All right, alumni dinners or digital town halls?
Ooh, both. Absolutely. I wouldn't choose one above the other. Well, think about it. Communities today, in the past, communities used to be people that actually lived in the same place and got together in a place where they all felt in the community. Today, communities span continents, literally continents. Companies have offices all over the world, and they need a tool that allows them to keep them all together, honestly. So the digital aspect of it is clearly important. Or think about a company that actually works in the US, but only is basically based out of a state, and they have alumni that moved all over the place. They will not some of them will probably travel to the event, in-person event that you do yearly over winter holidays, but at the same time, it's important to have something that you can engage with your community everywhere. On the other side, we're social animals, right? We've been connecting with each other and staying with each other in person for thousands, if not millions of years. So we need that physical presence. And I think that COVID, the pandemic, actually brought this up even more. Yes, you can, to a certain extent, replicate in a digital world the community, but at the same time, you feel the need to be together.
Speaking of digital communities, right? I think there's a big question, as we are final this or that, big question that happens when somebody starts to create something that's related to technology. Mm-hmm. Do you start with software or do you start with strategy?
Oh, strategy. I mean, today, coding software is something that can be done by a lot of people. Coding is available out there, and I see it in my world where there's a sort of FOMO. Everybody's doing the alumni. Everybody needs to launch an alumni initiative, and they want to launch an alumni initiative without even having a strategy behind it. So what I tell people, my clients in general, is before you launch a digital community, you need to have a strong strategy behind it. First of all, also because, again, a community is a place where everybody gets a benefit. Those who are organizing, putting up the community, and those who are members of the community, and they all should expect to gain something, but also to give something. In a relationship, in a community, if it's only one having the benefit and the others don't, the community is not going to last for long. It's not going to work, right? There has to be a benefit, a common benefit. So the strategy helps you understanding why you want this, why you want to put together a community, and what are the benefits that go to you as the organizer, but also as the members of your community, right? Solid strategy, and based on the type of industry, you might have different goals for your community. If you're a retail company selling millions of items every year, you might want to focus maybe on having your alumni as clients, because again, the more pieces of the more items of what you're selling, the more money you're going to make, and the more benefits you're going to give to your alumni because you're going to give them discounts, you're going to give them specific benefits that are relevant, that can be enjoyed only by the members of the community, and so on and so forth. Right? If you're a law firm, for example, there are many law firms today that I'm speaking with that are launching their alumni communities. If you think about, or consultants, right? A smaller amount of people, a smaller amount of employees at the end of the day, but each employee that leaves and becomes a client, the ticket is much larger, right? So at that point, you focus more on relationship, on business development, rather than selling the item or the good, right? If you're a pharmaceutical company, you might want to create groups, support groups for people that are sick or have a specific illness, and you might want to bring in the community doctors, researchers, other people that have the same pathology that can support each other, companies that provide services for people with that specific illness, and so on and so forth. Based on what your goals are, you build a strategy. So definitely start from I'm sorry, this is a little bit longer than you were probably expecting, but again, build your strategy and then think about technology.
As I always say, if you're building for everyone, you're building for no one, right?
Correct.
And, I know that, when I've done experiences related to starting a business or, classes related to entrepreneurship, or even just spoken to some of the venture capitalists in our community, what they always say is that you have to try to solve the problem, right? You cannot just aim to find a problem out of thin air or find a problem also that only exists in your own head, right? And what I like about the way that you're building Aluminati is that it is based off of a real personal experience.
Absolutely.
Right. You have your experience at Citi. Yeah. You've had this incredible experience as even in international, diplomacy as well, which I was unaware of. And I think that all of this has come together to bring together a not just technical perspective, but a societal expertise, I would say.
Absolutely.
I'm noticing that you pay attention to, let's call it the anthropology of the situation.
Sure.
And how that has all related. As you mentioned, humans are social creatures. We've been doing this, being in communities for thousands of years, right? Having that perspective is so important. There are a lot of startup founders that listen to this show. I'd like to close out here by just asking you for some general advice for people that are just starting their business journey, maybe even some people that are just starting their career journey as well.
Well, listen, being part of a community is something that will pay off at some point in the future. It is always relevant. It is always important to keep good connections, not only because, again, it is the right thing to do. Stay connected with people, and there's always something to learn. There's always something to give, and there's always something to take. Being by yourself, you can do it, but it's much harder. So build your community from day one, stay connected. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars to build it, right? You can think about a more evolved or a more advanced platform down the line when the numbers become important and relevant. But building the community itself is something that you should start day one.
That PayPal example is going to haunt me.
PayPal.
I mean, I started a VC-backed company, my first one, when I was 20 years old, and everybody's doing amazing things right now. And I was certainly not thinking about the future when I was in that position. But now I'm thinking about, man, oh man, if we were all connected right now, these are founders, COOs of other companies. Even my co-founder for this business, we were close friends in college too. We came back together to work on this. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And I think that I'm going to leave this with, some of the advice that you just gave entrepreneurs, which is to really think about how you could involve this at the earliest stages, right? And there's something nice about needing to do this, I think, because it also forces you to re-examine your values, your corporate values, what you stand for,
Absolutely.
Right? Because if you're trying to get alumni or people to leave your company to stay in touch with you, you need to think about why they would stay in touch, right? And oftentimes early stage companies also just don't think about what they stand for. They'll think about the problem that they're trying to solve, which is great. That's how you create a VC-backed company. That's how you get your initial customers. but they will not think about what they really stand for. Correct. And why would an alumni want to stay in touch with you if they don't know what you stand for?
Correct.
So there are certainly better benefits to come out of this. Andrea, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Antonio.
I really, really appreciate it. How can people stay up to date with you? How can people learn more about yourself and Aluminati? I know I want to do this right now for Coeus Collective, so I want to know as well how to get this going.
I'm on LinkedIn, Andrea Legnani. You can find me there. My company's website is alumnati.net. You have my profile over there. You can connect with me. Be more than happy to stay connected and build our own community.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you as well for supporting our New York Tech Week Aperitivo event.
Pleasure.
Bringing people together in person, communities together, is exactly what this interview has been about, and your support for our collective is unmatched, so we sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's build community together and actually do it, not just say we're doing it.
I look forward to it.
All right, grazie.
Thank you.
So.